The UK economy is hurtling toward catastrophe, with experts warning of a nightmare scenario as gross domestic product (GDP) flatlines. Official figures for the third quarter of 2024 show zero growth, leaving businesses, consumers and politicians reeling. The Confederation of British Industry, CBI, has described the situation as the worst of all worlds, with firms slashing hiring plans, cutting output, and bracing for a storm of rising costs. This grim forecast casts an ominous shadow over the country, sparking fears that a full-blown recession is now inevitable. The political fallout has been immediate and explosive. Labour's Rachel Reeves, who promised to turbocharge economic growth upon taking office just months ago, now finds herself at the centre of a firestorm. Critics from all sides are pointing fingers at her autumn budget, blaming it for driving the economy into stagnation and crushing business confidence. While Reeves defends her policies as a necessary response to 15 years of neglect, her detractors accuse her of unleashing a barrage of tax hikes and anti-business measures that have brought the economy to its knees. For businesses, the reality is stark. Employers across the country are slashing jobs at a rate not seen since the height of the pandemic in 2020. A staggering 48% of firms have announced plans to reduce staff in early 2025, while hiring intentions have plummeted to record lows. Alpesh Paleha of the CBI revealed the true scale of the crisis, describing an environment where firms are forced to weigh up drastic decisions to survive. The impact of Labour's tax policies is being felt acutely. Business owners, already grappling with rising costs, say the new national insurance hike is the final straw. Alex Perkins, a business owner in Weybridge, has been forced to make devastating cuts to his workforce for the first time since the 2009 recession. "We let 7 people go," Perkins said. "The national insurance rise will cost us around £50,000 a year. It's brutal, but we had no choice." As businesses struggle to stay afloat, the retail sector is reeling from a collapse in consumer confidence. The British Retail Consortium has reported a sharp decline in public sentiment since the budget was unveiled, with households tightening their belts amid fears of economic uncertainty. Helen Dickinson, CEO of the consortium, warned that retailers face impossible choices: raise prices or cut costs. Both scenarios spell disaster for an industry already on the brink. The ONS has added fuel to the fire with a revision of its economic forecasts, showing that the second quarter of 2024 was weaker than initially reported. Bars, restaurants, legal services, and advertising firms all underperformed, dragging down growth expectations and reinforcing fears of a prolonged slump. Meanwhile, disposable income has stagnated, and household savings are being depleted. For millions of ordinary people, the dream of financial stability feels increasingly out of reach. Andrew Griffith, the Conservative business spokesman, has wasted no time in blaming Labour for the crisis. He accused Reeves of creating a hostile climate for aspiration, investment and growth, warning that her policies are literally killing businesses and jobs. Griffith didn't hold back, declaring that any forthcoming recession would be made in Downing Street. The Treasury, however, remains defiant. A spokesperson defended Labour's budget, highlighting business support measures such as capped corporation tax and a national wealth fund designed to drive investment. Yet these reassurances ring hollow for those already feeling the squeeze. Retailers, service providers, and manufacturers have all reported a bleak outlook for the start of 2025. The CBI's surveys reveal an almost universal sense of despair, with employers scaling back operations and consumers bracing for tougher times ahead. Even in sectors that have traditionally weathered economic storms, the mood is grim. Amid the economic chaos, Christmas shoppers are finding themselves embroiled in a different kind of crisis. Online shopping, once seen as a convenient solution, has become a minefield of delayed deliveries, damaged goods, and refund disputes. Consumer expert Jane Hawkes has been inundated with horror stories from frustrated customers fighting retailers for their rights. She shared one recent case where a lost parcel led to a months-long battle for a refund. The customer eventually secured their money back by bypassing the retailer and going directly to their credit card provider. Hawkes' advice to shoppers is clear: don't be intimidated by uncooperative retailers. "Your contract is with the retailer," she explained. Don't let them pass the buck. Persistence beats resistance, and knowing your rights can make all the difference. With delivery issues mounting, Hawkes warned consumers to remain vigilant during the holiday season, ensuring they keep records of every transaction and correspondence. Meanwhile, the property market is entering a state of frenzy as first-time buyers scramble to beat looming stamp duty changes. Property expert Phil Spencer has sounded the alarm, warning that hidden costs are catching buyers off guard and pushing many beyond their financial limits. From April 2025, stamp duty thresholds will be lowered, meaning thousands of buyers will face higher taxes on their purchases. Spencer described the situation as a ticking time bomb, with the impending changes creating a rush to secure deals before the new rules take effect. First-time buyers, already stretched by soaring property prices and rising interest rates, are now contending with additional costs that often exceed £5,000. These expenses, including legal fees, survey costs, and mandatory building insurance, can derail even the best-laid plans. Spencer urged buyers to plan carefully, warning that failing to account for these hidden costs could lead to financial ruin. The race to complete property purchases before April 2025 is having a ripple effect on the housing market. Prices are surging as demand outstrips supply, leaving many buyers in bidding wars that drive up costs even further. The result is a vicious cycle where affordability becomes an increasingly distant dream for ordinary families. Spencer described the situation as pouring petrol on property price rises, with little relief in sight. As the year draws to a close, the sense of crisis is palpable across every corner of the UK economy. From struggling businesses to anxious homebuyers and frustrated consumers, the mood is one of uncertainty and fear. Labour, just months into its government, faces an uphill battle to regain public trust and steer the country away from disaster. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the clock is ticking. While Rachel Reeves insists that her reforms will deliver sustainable, long-term growth, the reality on the ground tells a different story. Businesses are closing their doors, jobs are being lost, and consumers are tightening their belts. The dream of a thriving, prosperous economy feels more distant than ever, replaced by a grim reality of stagnation and decline. The political ramifications are immense. Labour's opponents are seizing the moment to highlight the party's perceived failures, painting a picture of a government out of its depth. With the threat of a recession looming large, the blame game is in full swing, and the public is watching closely. For Reeves and her team, the challenge is clear: reverse the economic slide, or risk being remembered as the architects of one of the UK's darkest economic chapters. The coming months will be a critical test for Labour's leadership and its ability to navigate the nation through this storm. Whether through revised policies, emergency measures, or sheer determination, the government must find a way to restore confidence and kickstart growth. The alternative, a prolonged recession and a legacy of economic despair, is unthinkable. As the nation braces for 2025, the question remains: can the UK pull back from the brink, or is this the beginning of an economic collapse that will define the decade? One thing is certain: every move Labour makes will be under the microscope, and the stakes have never been higher.